when you think of a champion boxer, you think of them knocking someone out, a Mike Tyson knockout blow. But the truth is, people like Evander Holyfield, who knocked out Tyson, had a greater ability to endure to make it to the later rounds. And in life, you got to learn to endure. Definitely to be great, your endurance is just as important as your ability to hit hard. To get through bad days requires that you push yourself to do things that are essential for your self-care, hygiene, exercise, productivity, so that even when you're suffering mentally and stressing, you're doing things, even pleasurable things like going to the beach. You'd be surprised how silly that sounds. But today I had a rough day and I had to push myself to go to the beach. And even when I was in the ocean, my mind was suffering. But I said to myself, this day is going to go no matter what. Good or bad, this day will pass. And it's better, okay, to be stressed and forcing yourself to do productivity, to do self-care, and to do pleasurable things. All three, not just one. And then overall in your mind, to keep yourself going, you say, just get through the day. Manage your time, just get through the day. This is endurance. You think in life every day you're going to make a lot of money, you're always going to feel well, you're always going to do well. You haven't lived enough life. Certainly you're going to have those days. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. Ice Cube had a song, "Today was a good day. Mama cooked a breakfast with no hog." But sometimes it's a bad day. And I always remind myself, because I was a little down there, I said, Sam, a couple things. One is, I know life. I know a lot of people have a lot worse. Be thankful. I remember when I was in Jersey, there was this girl that used to work at the store. She had a messed up face. I don't know if she was burnt or something. She had a real deformed face. And I used to say to myself, it's amazing that she pushes herself to work as a cashier every day. Now, maybe she had to, but still, the endurance she had, I mean, it humbles me because I don't know if I'd be able to do that. You know, I know a lot of people say, Sam, it's amazing you're able to go live every day. And it's true. You know, part of the reason I suffer today is because I have back and forth with the audience, engagement. And because I allow people in my life online that normally would not be in my life, in my personal life, there's a boundary that gets crossed there. I don't want to be negative towards them, but I end up being negative towards them because my mind is pushing me a certain way and their thoughts are pushing me another way. And I have a mindset of, I'm doing this. And so that clashes. And that's why I always say I don't want to hurt people, but it's tough. But this is part of sharing your life publicly. That's why it's more comfortable to share your life privately. More comfortable. Now, people suffer in private, but endurance. Even things you want, even things you get paid for require endurance. They'll teach you a lot of things in school and you'll need it. Some things in high school, most things in high school you won't use, but the endurance to graduate high school, that's what you use. I barely passed, but I did what I needed to do to pass. That's endurance. I had to take my electrical exam 3 times. That's endurance. Pain, but still go. Pain, but still go. You say I'm burnt out. Well, I feel that I was burnt out too, but every time I feel that, that's okay. If I'm burnt out, what should I do? Should I find a place to go lay down and stay there? Nah. Why? Because there's more suffering. You know, look, as I've been a nomad longer, I do feel more anxiety about getting stuck on the road. Having enough money to get off the road is always your biggest asset, but the older your car gets, the older you get, the more you're on the road, and if you don't have a home base, that plays with your mind. Now, the opposite of that is, I say I don't want to just lay down. But I want to tell you, just like the nomads, most nomads 1 to 3 years full time. Maybe 5 years. Why? Endurance. What was once pleasurable isn't pleasurable. What are we talking about? How do you get through the day? Endurance. Is it easy? No. Do you have to remind yourself? Yes. Do you need the grace of God? Well, I curse God today very loudly in my soul in private. I'm always respectful in public. I like to share with you guys. Sharing your life and your private thoughts is very damaging. Most people shouldn't do it. They want to have a YouTube channel. They can't handle the stress of a job. You'd be surprised how easy it is to deal with someone, okay, working at Walmart for 40 hours a week with a guaranteed paycheck than it will be for sharing your life publicly online with no guarantee of a paycheck, and most people won't get monetized. But they'll go online. Why? Because the hope is greater than the perceived pain, but the endurance will show because they won't show up. And I understand it's a high risk, low reward. Most pain is self-induced. I say that every time I risk too much money in risky investments. Most of your money will be lost trying to make more money or through addictions. Most money is lost through gambling or risky investments, addictions, or divorce. That's where most money is lost. And you are accountable, not the court system. Why? When you buy Bitcoin, if it goes up, you're happy. If it goes down, you're accountable. You decide to take the risk. If you get married, if it works out, it's great. If it doesn't, you decide to take the risk. Now, sometimes it feels like the system's screwing you. They make the stock go down, you sell it, and then it goes up. The divorce was, things were good, then it went bad. That's life. So that's why you better either keep everything in a savings account and stay single, or you take some risk. You can't have it both ways. Endurance. Just get through the day. Just get through the day. So I get ready to wrap the message up. Then we're going to go all live comments, which is very tough to be fully engaged with your YouTube channel and read every comment. Most YouTubers don't do it. Why? It's too mentally painful, and I understand. And YouTube's a tough thing, man. I mean, it's easy in one sense. It's tough in another. If you're fully engaged. Top Gun, the movie. Tom Cruise played this pilot. Okay. And they used to do exercises. And they were doing this one mock exercise where they were fighting the enemy. And he took too much risk. And he flew the plane a little recklessly. And it crashed and killed his friend. And he struggled to get back in the saddle. And when he finally got back in the saddle, he was very passive. And they kept telling him, you have to engage. You have to engage. See, there's one thing to show up, there's another thing to be engaged. Why was Tom Cruise scared to get back engaged? Because he found it so painful just to get through the day because he made such great mistakes. To now make himself vulnerable to feel more pain, well, that takes time. Does it ever stop? You ask God that, or you ask Satan. Sometimes I said to myself, why do I curse God? I said, curse Satan. I said, what is this, a big game? Who should I curse? But then I said, should I be an atheist and curse no one? They really curse God, but they don't want to say God because they're so mad at God for creating such a world. Curse God, just at least be honest. But faith has helped me so I can't deny that. I question my faith sometimes, just like all the people in the Bible did, from Moses to Solomon to Jesus. But I say at the end of the day, when I think about that, I say, well, is it better to have a little faith or not? It's better to have a little. Why? Help you get through the day. Is it better to have some extra food in your car? Yeah, help you get through the day. So even if you're an atheist, if you keep extra food in the car, you feel the same way. If you keep extra gas in the back of your van, then you feel the same way. Whatever it takes. So let's wrap up this message. Why? Because that's where we're at. I showed up. It's painful to show up today. Why? It wasn't an absolutely great day, but it was better. I said to myself, Sam, you're in Florida. This is where you want to be. You're working remote. Be thankful for your main job. Thank God for your main job. I always fear your main job could be taken away from you at any time because it has been before. But you can't live in fear. Why? Because you got through another day when you had a job. And before you know it, you get through years. So that's why you got to remember to manage your time. Do something productive. Then do exercise. Then go do something pleasurable. If you don't do that, you'll live by the beach and never go to the beach. If you don't do that, you'll complain about money but never get money. But remember, Don't risk too much money trying to get more money. Why? You'll destroy your mental health. You say Bitcoin's up today. It is up today. Was it up last week? Can you handle that swing? How are you doing mentally? See, mentally, when you go through that hardship, you start to question God, but that's self-induced. Question yourself. Question yourself. Don't make a video about why there's so much suffering. Make a video about why you risk too much. I did it to myself. You can still curse God, but be honest. People need to hear your testimony, not your theory. People need to know reality, not philosophy. In the reality I live, someone can pull up to me anytime. That's the nomad life. In the reality I live, I have to deal with a lot of people online that most people don't want to deal with in real life. Some great people, some bad people, like everything else. How do you not let the bad people make you become a shut-in? Especially if you're overall private person. You deal with enough people in life, you don't want to deal with anyone. And then you feel if you're mean to someone, you got the karma coming back to you. But these people have a pattern of inflaming contentiousness. It's not about blaming anyone. This is about reflection. Enduring these thoughts. Click that thumbs up if you haven't. You want to support the channel, click the blue join button. I'm going to go to all live comments now. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all my members. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. Sorry for those I hurt along the way. That's not my intention. But if we're two different people, let's just go our separate ways. Why? Because I don't want to live a life where you fight your inner circle at the end of the day. I don't want to fight people. You get tired of fighting. Okay. And you're going to have to fight. It never stops. But you know what I mean. There's only so many battles you can fight. You're not God, and even if you were God, I mean, who knows? All live comments. Twister, what's up, brother? Twister, love to you. I think about you. I pray for you. I know you got Crohn's disease, but you still stay positive. And I thank you for everything, brother. Shout out to Texas. Charlie, another awesome, positive person. Thank you for everything. Hello to you. Charlie, so true. All you can do is just try to get through the day. That's the message. Good job, Charlie. Grumpy, what's up, man? Tyrese, the ocean usually heals me pretty well, but I can relate to what you're saying. Thank you. I want to tell you this. The more time I spend in the ocean, the more I tell you, if you're 60 years old or more, you're not going to be in the ocean, not fully submerged. Why? Your knees are going to buckle. I'm 41 in relatively good shape. And when I fully submerge in the ocean, like I did today, the waves are going to knock you down, and if you had bad knees, you'd break your knee or snap your knee. You're going to step on seashells, and when you got old feet, you'd be surprised. You know, it's just like paddleboarding. If you've never been paddleboarding, you see someone do it, on this very calm water, even if it's not the ocean, if it's a lake, and you see someone just paddling, standing up on this surfboard. So, that's relaxing. You've never been paddleboarding. You know how much pressure that puts on your knees? I did that one time. My knees were shaking. If you wait to 60, 70 to live by the beach, get ready to look at the beach, but not fully submerge in the beach. That's the reality. Even me, when I say I want to look at a home base, I say, yeah, I may want to be by the beach, but I probably also want a pool. Why? The older I get, the less I'm going to be in the beach, and probably even the less in the pool. Back to live comments. Let's stay positive. Dabras was talking about Ukraine and because of Putin. Yeah, geopolitical politics are a disaster, and it's sad. And there's no, I think about that too. I said to myself, what type of world do we live in where you put humanity through a pandemic, and then as soon as you get out of the pandemic, you go right to a war? Okay. There's no answer. All I could tell you is I hope the best for everyone. I feel bad for people on both sides, not for the leaders that are causing it. And I know that all countries have some blame in everything, because I understand there's so many layers of politics. I get it. I feel bad for the regular people, okay, on all sides, because regular people, most of them, there's always exceptions, most of the regular people on all sides of all wars in all countries, they're just trying to get through the day. And when you work, when you're in the army, you do as you're told, pretty much. When you're at a job, you do what you're told, pretty much. So most people, no matter what their country, what their race, religion, they're just basically trying to get through the day. But that's why, look, when you have a bad leader, things can go bad. But politics, there's so many layers and not enough answers. Shame. Twisted. Sam, it's not silly at all. Thank you. Thank you for your teachings of getting through the day. It's been a huge factor in my head when I feel horrible and just want to do drugs to get away from my feelings. Well, thank you for sharing. I mean, I have extreme empathy for everyone who struggles with drugs. I don't look down on them. And you could struggle with drugs, but not struggle with food. You could struggle with food, but not struggle with drugs. You could struggle with gambling and not struggle with either. So like I say, I have empathy, not judgment. Empathy, not judgment, but I also have boundaries. Why? Because I got to keep my own sanity. I'm trying to keep my own sanity and get through the day, but it's very hard. I mean, it's easier when you're private, but even when I was private, I still had to keep boundaries with certain people. Publicly, there's more boundaries. And I feel like when you share your thoughts publicly, your words echo, and you feel if you're empathetic, you feel the pain of more people. It's a good thing where you're not going to, it's just tough, but let's stay positive. Twist it. Going strong by the grace of God. February is officially over. Well, let's get through the day. Tomorrow's March. Another month down. Oh, one day closer to death. I hate to say that. Yeah, 1 month closer to death. Yeah. But I try to live life. Why? Because I manage my time. And if we are one day closer to death, but I did what I wanted to do. I mean, I'm in Florida. I took care of my responsibilities for work. I took care of my responsibilities for self-care, exercise. And I took care of myself for something pleasurable. I went to the beach. Do I have everything I want? No. Do I have a lot of what I want? Yes. Do I have a lot more than many other people's? Yes. Do I pay the price for some of it that other people aren't willing to pay? Yes. Is there an exact science to life? No. The general wisdom to life is do what you can within your abilities, be consistent, don't lie to yourself, and remember, most stress is self-induced. Too much gambling, too many drugs, too many wrong people, too many relationships. And, you can only blame so many people for that. Can't blame world politics. Most people are at war every day within their own decisions, not because of geopolitics. Tyrese, what's up, man? Oftentimes, talking to many people over time for me can be very exhausting. I don't mean to be mean or antisocial, but I really enjoy time to myself. I understand that. I am very similar. We all have a different spectrum of personality. But that's why I kind of made the decision that I'm going to put most of my effort, all of my effort pretty much into being single. Why? Because I don't really have the personality to be in a long-term relationship. And companionship and like friends with benefits turns into a disaster because you can only do that so long. And I'm just built a certain way, physically, mentally, emotionally. So I have to be honest with myself. I enjoy the company of people at times. I like most of my time by myself. So if I like to spend 90% of the time by myself, does that mean I should be with someone else and for 10% of the time? No, it doesn't make sense. If I like to spend 90% of my time in Florida, does that mean I should think about a home base here? Yes. But again, most square footage of the home base I won't use. Really what I want is a place to park. That's why I've been paying for campgrounds. Campgrounds can cost just as much as the recurring fees of a house. But stealth parking long term is like, Sam, then what are you doing everything for? To stealth park the rest of your life? You're burning yourself out. I don't want to do that. And that's not, so. Speed Racer, how is the house hunting going? Stressful. Unfortunate, there's two options. I can't bring myself to commit. Now, it's cherry on the top, so I don't have to put too much pressure on myself. I can spend, as a single person with no pets, no kids, as long as I maintain my income, it doesn't matter. I can rent the rest of my life and be fine. But there is a little bit more pressure the older you get and the more you're on the road, you feel it mentally. and logistically. And I said to myself, Sam, what else? But there's nothing perfect. Uh, he goes, the market is still going up here in Southwest Florida. For the most part, the market is up. I have found some reasonable things, though, so I have to be thankful. If you look hard enough, you'll find something reasonable. Art Dog. What's up, Art Dog? The anxiety seems very real to me. It seems like it comes with the territory, though, to me. I'm on the outside hoping to be there one day. I can understand that, getting caught in your mind. Anxiety is like drowning in the ocean. A bad day is like drowning in the ocean. What do they teach you when you're caught in a rip current in the ocean? Well, there's a lot of signs at the beach. It says this. You let the rip current take you out a little bit, but then as soon as you can, you swim to the side, okay, and you come back to shore. So you let your sad thoughts or your anxiety take you a little bit, but not all the way out, and then you kind of move to the side and you come back to shore. You got to manage your time, or else you'll just stare into space all day and kill yourself, mentally. Our dog, at Tyrese, yes, I agree with you. Melvano, what's up, brother? I'd rather work with a person with grit than a lazy genius. Yeah, it's tough. That's, one is respect to you, Melvano. I will say this. I've worked with a lazy guy that was very smart in automation. And this guy made my life easier. So I will say in some ways. So I will say, I think there's even a quote maybe by Bill Gates. I don't know if he really said it, that a lazy person can sometimes find an easier way to do something. There's no exact science to life. Look, obviously you got to put effort. You can't be lazy into your best life. But everything has a counterbalance. There's no exact science to life. If there was an exact science to life, guys, all you got to do is follow the roadmap. There's some general paths. You got to do something. You got to put some effort behind your thoughts. But I will say this. There was this one lazy guy. His talent was automation software. And we used to have to physically do a lot of things. But because he didn't want to do them or couldn't do them because of the way his body was built or mind or soul, he found a way to automate things, and it helped all of us. Now, he had to put some effort, but when you have a gift to do something, it's not as hard. He had a gift to automate. I can't automate. That's not my gift. That's not my strength. I could study on it, and I do study on it, but there's only so much you can, like I could study on how to shoot a three-pointer, but there's only so much I could do. So I want to share with you guys, this is why it takes it takes a village, right? Everyone has certain gifts. You got to use them. Brian, have a great evening. Thank you, Brian. Tyrese, I'm trying to keep and continue to build the faith. Plus, one thing I like that Kanye said is that faith is the opposite of fear. It's true, and Kanye helped me. I remember he made the song Jesus Walked. I remember hearing it in the parking lot of a strip club in Rahway, New Jersey, and it helped me. But he is not God. He is human. And he has shown that through his life. And so some things he says is wisdom. Some things he says is delusional. But that's all of us. That's true. Our dog, again, I appreciate these candid talks. Thank you. You have with us. I think many feel the need to put on a front to worry, or scare people. Look, you do. People can only take so much of your sadness, and you don't want to sit there and have a pity party with two people. That's why I try to keep a well-balanced channel, a well-balanced mind with boundaries. It's raining, so if you hear the rain, excuse that. But I showed up, and even if it's imperfect, I've been on here for 25 minutes. So I don't want life to be an endless therapy session, because there's no therapy for having to wake up early. There's no therapy for pushing yourself to be productive, to exercise, to do something pleasurable each day. There's nothing to talk about. You just do. But there's a time at the end of the day maybe to let it out. You have to vent. I could never be a therapist, even though they get paid good, and even though I have some gifts to it. Why? I can't bear to hear that much venting from too many other people. And I'm honest with myself. And that's why, even in a relationship, I don't know how much I want to hear, and I don't want to complain to other people. Now, I use this a little bit to vent, and I tell people, if you don't like what I'm saying, I don't want to hurt you. It's better you go somewhere else. It's not easy. Thank you, our dog. If I miss a comment, guys, please type it again. Don't take it as disrespect. Jessica, what's up? Tyrese. I can get kind of scared of going in the ocean water, but I absolutely love hearing and seeing it. It's understandable. Charles, thank you, brother. Good to see you. Great job showing up. Thank you for everything, Charles. Thank you for being consistent in your temperament and sharing your skill set. Tyrese at our dog. Hopefully over time, our anxiety feelings will reduce. Well, they'll reduce through self-care, but they're never going to go away. Why? We live in an imperfect world, but you can make your life better. You got to you can't over-philosophize anxiety, though. You can't outthink depression. You can't outthink depression. You can't outthink depression. You have to do the plan. You have to do the work. Sometimes, I think about the arguments I've gotten to online where you got to be very careful trying to save a depressed person because it's an endless conversation of nothing. You don't want a depressed person to feel like they're alone because we all feel depressed. You don't want a weak person to feel like they should always be strong because we all have different strengths and weaknesses. But you don't want someone who has a recurring pattern of doing nothing but talking about their feelings to allow you to just talk about their feelings forever. Because, then you start to it's like someone once told me, and I think it was a depressed person, you got to be very careful when you save a drowning person because by default, they're going to pull you under the water. Why? Because they're desperate. A drowning person is desperate. A depressed person is desperate. A drug addict is desperate. If you don't believe me, you haven't experienced life. We've all been desperate. We can all empathize. That's what gives us compassion. But that doesn't mean you allow the drowning person to pull you under. You got to have boundaries. You got to have a firmness of either pulling or letting go. Someone else who struggled mentally shared with me because they knew all the philosophy, but it was tough for them to put it in action. Depressed people know all the philosophy because they've been through a lot of therapy, but they can't pull the trigger, and I understand. They told me that when you're on a plane and the plane's going down, to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Why? You can't help anyone else if you're not in a good place. When I was in a bad place in a relationship, a girl told me, she goes, Sam, I can't talk to you anymore. You're in a bad place. It's not good for me to talk to you. And I was. I failed. I got too emotional. And I've had girls who've been too emotional over me. It's raining hard now in Florida. Florida is a tropical environment. There's no wildfires, but there's hard rain. The hard rain passes quickly. You want to live in a vehicle? Do you get scared of the rain? Or are you going to sit in your vehicle until it stops raining? Back to live comments. Randy, I feel I let you down. I quit an electrician apprentice job. You always preach show up. What jobs have you quit were hard for you to transition into? I've never quit a job. I've given my 2 weeks notice to take a different job, a better job. I've never quit. But I've been in a lot of pain, and I can understand why someone would quit, so I don't judge. But I don't have an answer other than to say, pick yourself back up and try either it again or try something else again. You don't have to be an electrician. Try something. And if you don't have anything to do, deliver pizza, do DoorDash. I tell everyone who does the gig economy, if you're not accepting 90% of deliveries, you're not doing the gig economy. You're doing the lazy man's unemployment. Now, again, I understand how DoorDash is not easy. I did DoorDash. And it can get to a point where it's actually hard. So I don't judge, but you got to do something. And you got to measure it. You got to measure everything. So, Randy, one is empathy to you. Number two is you got to look at your life. Do you have a recurring pattern of quitting things? Then you got to ask yourself, how do you feel after you quit? Now, I have a recurring pattern in my tax returns to lose more money in investments than I make. That's why I said, well, Sam, I do the work, but where I fail sometimes is I try to risk too much money making more money. So I mitigate that, but that's painful. So maybe you have a situation where you just don't do the work, but you got to find something you're willing to do. Security job officer is probably the best for most people if it's a basic security job. It's a lazy man's good job. Pretty much just show up and stay out of trouble. And work the night shift. The night shift job is another good job. You deal with less people. Electrician is hard, guys. That was tough for me. Hard. I hate working my hands too. It's physically demanding. You deal with rough people, and it could be rough environments depending on what jobs. I did industrial plants, commercial buildings, everything. Residential, everything. But I would say, look, if you got no idea what to do, be a security officer at the night shift. DoorDash would accept 90% of deliveries. Be a Planet Fitness check-in person. All these things will at least get a rhythm. And don't gamble too much. Don't do too much drugs. Get some savings. Even if you lose money, even if you mess up in life, if you have a few grand in savings and if you have income, you have a lot. You have a lot. Maintain your health. Best of luck to you, Randy. I understand. Grumpy, Sam. Wars would stop if the first one on the battlefield was the presidents of the countries. And the last one off the battlefield would be the presidents of these countries. There would be more war. No, I get your point. Basically, if I'm reading it correctly, basically that, yeah, if the people who actually declared wars, the leaders, had their family engaged in the wars and then themselves, then there would be less. Now, there are some psychopaths that even if that was the case, they would still go to war. Because there are some people that are just psychologically, that's what they thrive off. But in general terms, you're correct. But always remember the exception to the rule is there are some people psychologically, they prefer to battle more than peace. It's actually harder to maintain peace in many instances than to wage war. Now, war has more. Look, life is a delicate balance, but all I hope is that as we get more modern through humanity and information is shared and countries and cultures are connected at least through some level of communication. There's many bad parts of the internet. There's many bad parts of social media, and I experienced some of them, and it's been tough for me. And I try to do better, and sometimes I ask them, man, I could do better than that. It's just tough. But I could tell you that I just hope things get better. I know it'll never be perfect. That sometimes discourages me. Again, it really discourages me that we just get out of a pandemic and then we go into a war. Even though America's maybe not directly involved, and I know America plays a part, every country plays a part in all this stuff. It's just discouraging, but you can only get so far down that rabbit hole. Okay. But I hear you. Deandra, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. The good news is we're all going to die. I understand that philosophy. Now, I try to live and enjoy life as much as I can. And I encourage everyone to do that. Why? Less suffering. You say inspirational nomad. I totally hate life, and I get that. And I know a lot of people have it worse than me. All I can tell you, though, this is the only thing I can tell you. I'm not God. Try to do the best you can to enjoy life responsibly. And some of that means you got to do things you don't want to do and manage your time. Why? The sales pitch is less suffering for you. In my experience in life, not what I've been taught, in my experience, people suffer more when they sit home, they don't do anything, and they just worry themselves, or they worry themselves to death. They sedate themselves to death. There's more suffering, not just physically, mentally. So as best you can, do what you can. Myrtle, what's up, Myrtle? Hey, getting through the day from Canada. Well, thank you, Myrtle. Pray for me that I continue to grow as a YouTuber and I get a little bit better in dealing with others. It's not easy. Not easy. I'm trying. Deandra, stay positive, brother. Keep showing up. Well, I thank you, Deandra. And again, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. I thank you for the positive comment. I thank you for the positive people. Thank you. Free Kittles, peace to you. Free Kitty, Stevens. Sophie, hey Sophie, thank you for your positivity. Sophie says at work today, and the boss was explaining that shipping is delayed. I almost said, yes, truckers are at the Canada border. I laughed to myself and just smiled. Your talk is good. Thank you, Sophie. Sophie, I enjoy to be by myself. No partner needed. I get what you're saying. Yeah, look, I mean, I find myself fortunate that I've been able to experience love, and I thank God for a woman. I thank God for relationships, but I also thank God I was spared. I was talking to my mom today. I try to call my mom video conference every day at the end of the day. I know everyone hasn't had a good mom. I mean, I don't talk to my father anymore. I feel a little bad at times about that, but it's tough. And I share with my mom some things I was stressing about. I try not to share too much, but a little bit. And she goes, well, Sam, be thankful. At least you don't have no kids. You don't have no family. At least you don't have certain pressures. And I know it wasn't easy for my mom and my father. You know, sometimes I curse my father. Well, my father kind of was supposed to, should have got a vasectomy after a couple kids, but he kept going. So. But we're all here, so I don't blame anyone. And my parents were engaged enough where they took care of us. I know people that didn't have that. But I look at what, as you get older, I look at what my mom did after the divorce. Definitely, she worked basic minimum wage jobs and side jobs. Even though my father, he did pay child support, but she didn't just sit on her ass. She worked 2-3 jobs. And, again, my father did what he needed to do as best he could. And I think about it, that's not easy for them. I get that. I get also, though, they had the children. They decided that's what they wanted to live. I get that, too. But, look, I mean, as you get older, you understand life more. Okay, that just takes time to understand. But you never fully understand it, but you at least get the common suffering that everyone goes through. You understand how people find themselves in overwhelming situations, and they're struggling to get through the day. And you understand why some people turn to drugs or alcohol. You understand it. I'm not saying you do it, and that's why I'm very tough-minded. I don't judge it. Like I say, like sometimes people say you're a little too intense. Just remember, guys, I don't do any drugs. I used to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and smoke weed when I was young. I don't do any drugs. I don't do anything. I don't smoke cigarettes, don't drink alcohol. And I try to even watch my food consumption. I used to be obese. Okay. I'm a little bit overweight now, and it's not got a wide ass, but I'm doing very good for myself, especially considering where I came from. And all I'm trying to say, for me to get through the day, I got to be a little intense for myself. I can't just apathetically go through life. If I did, guys, I'd still be it's the end of the day. Let's have a drink. Let's have a cigarette. Oh, yeah, let's have Carvel ice cream. Let's have Wendy's. Let's stay in New Jersey until I retire. I mean, if you're apathetic, that's your life. Am I mad at you? No, because you're just trying to get through the day. And maybe you got a family. Maybe you just I get it. And sometimes I say to myself, Sam, you're doing all this. It's still tough. I get it. Everyone's got to do what they got to do. I'm just doing what I got to do. The tough part about being a nomad, it sounds stupid and I repeat it, but I need to repeat it because there's something to it. I go out of my way to park by myself because as I get older, I really don't want to be in anyone's way, and I don't want anyone to be in my way. So I put a little extra effort into being by myself. And when someone comes into my space, I can't be mad at them because I'm in a public area. But it something hurts me. It's like, man, why would they bother me? I'm not bothering them. That really agitates me. But I remember that a couple things to check myself. Number one is when I was young, you don't just think, not that I park next to people, but I did things now. I did things when I was younger that I think of now. I said, man, I was probably intruding on someone else's space without realizing it. Now, as a 41-year-old man, I drive a lot more conservatively. And I always kind of did, but when I was young, I did racing. We'd race going down I-95, going to different, cities, different towns. Okay, we do all that. And I look at now and say, man, one is a good thing. I could have really gotten a major accident. And two, as I look at now, when someone's cutting me off on the road, my first reaction is to say, what type of asshole would do that? And I'm right, but I also check myself and say, Sam, you once did that. Does that make that excusable? No, but it just at least it gets through the day. Well, you understand life. Back to live comments. Our dog. I really appreciate your willingness to apparently go for what you really want and not compromise when you probably could. Thank you, Art Dog. You've been very positive. I'm really struggling with that, man. I'm in this final season. You know, after a certain point in my life, I mean, again, I always want to stress the first thing I really worked on in life is separating myself from an immature environment, clubs, strip clubs, relationships that were no longer maturing. And I got into more support groups like churches or organizations that were doing things that were more healthy and positive. I started working on myself. Then I started reading. I started working on my career. I started working on my knowledge. And then I started to try to understand, you know, philosophy and not just religiously, but mentally. And, you know, like even though I never went to school for psychology, I mean, I've studied up on the human psyche, not to be a psychopath who tries to mass manipulate people or try to understand how to make better decisions for myself. There's some people that they go to psychology to try to understand their parents or understand other people. Guys, I do the work to try to understand myself and make myself better. You better be careful with some of these people. Okay. So you can't save someone. Look, I see Aaron in here. The reason there's a lot of empathetic people is because look, they know it could easily be them. But the reason it's not you, Aaron, is because you did some work of your life. So for all my empathetic people, never lose your empathy. But you have a responsibility to the people you're trying to help to tell them that even though it could be me, it wasn't me because I also did the work. I got the grace of God, so I can't take full credit. And even if you don't believe in God, when I acknowledge that, I'm saying that I can't take full credit for everything because we get breaks. But if you want to get out of destitution, if you want to get out of addiction, if you want to get out of whatever, you need help, but you have to do some work. If you're unwilling to do the work, in a first world country, you're still going to get some basic help. It may not be great, but there's no way around that. And you can over-philosophize it till the cows come home. Most stress is self-induced. Too much gambling, too much risk, too many drugs, too many relationships, too many kids. Acknowledge that. Don't blame wars. Work on yourself. Don't try to figure out your parents. Work on yourself. Don't try to figure out your parents. Don't try to repair your ex. Try to repair yourself. If you don't repair yourself, you're going to get your car repaired by an alcoholic who can't repair your car. Is any of this easy? Guys, I'm just trying to get through the day, and this is what I tell myself. Back to live comments. Thank you, everyone. Stacy, everyone, I'll see you in here. I want to get to these comments. Bob, home ownership is a scam conjured up the American dream by the bankers during World War II. I understand that general comment. I'm not saying you're totally wrong, but I will say this, that home ownership makes a better society. If everyone was renters, I think society would be a little bit worse. Home ownership can be good, but you need to first work on your career, then work on buying a house within your means, within your square footage. I've done videos, even within the past year, of decent houses at $150,000 or less in decent areas. I'm looking at two home bases right now, one by the beach for $160,000 and one in the country for $40,000. None of them are perfect, but I'd feel fine. I'm looking at them for me to live in myself. So again, if you're struggling to get an income, I don't think you should own. Why? Because you don't need more responsibility, you need more income. And then you got to learn how to manage your money. Home ownership is not the end all be all, but I do think it's a good mix to society. Like everything, we'll have to evaluate it. And there are alternative ways to live if you didn't want to own a home. Of course you can rent, you can nomad, you can live in an RV, but everything has a cost. Renting has a cost, home ownership has a cost, and being a nomad has a cost. Some are more, some are less. I would tell every potential homeowner, look at the square footage of the house and look at the community you're going to buy in. Look at your recurring patterns of income and behavior. When you're young, I know you don't understand this. I didn't understand that. You know, even though I'm glad I bought the house I did, I'm glad I got help from my mom. I'm not going to lie. But even if I didn't get help from my mom, I mean, I was working, I would have been able to do something. If you're working, your dreams will work. If you're not working, your dreams will never work. If you're disabled, mentally or physically, you should get help. You should get SSDI or whatever. I'm not against that. I'm for that. So do what you can within your ability. And you don't need to own if you don't want to. I understand what you're saying. Brando Fly. It would be nice to have a partner when going on vacations or road trips. Well, I can say this. I know for me, it's better off being single, but I recognize that most people do better in a social relationship setting. I believe that probably 75 to 80% of society does better overall in a relationship. That being said, divorce rates are 50%, and it's not men or women's fault. It's just the way it is in a first world country when you don't have to stay together. And in a modern era, you know, look, there's a lot of ways to get companionship without entanglement, but there's really not. Because even if you don't have kids, once you emotionally get entangled with someone, even online, okay, it's a battle. Okay. So it's a very tough thing to intermingle people. You got to have similar goals, similar interest. It's going to be very hard to be a sober person and have a best friend as a drug addict. You could both love and respect each other, but there is a different way of living. It's going to be, I still have people I know, look, online, in real life, guys, I talk to less than 5 people other than work, and I talk to my mom. That's it. Is there a different way to do things than me? Yes. So everyone will have to figure that out. Tony, what's up, man? Shout out to Canada. Woke up today anxious about starting the work week. Procrastination, but once I started, I had a good productive day. Get through another one. Tomorrow should be easier. Tony, great comment. That's what I told myself today. Sam, this is a monster. Get through today. Yes, thank you. Bob, own a house? Question. Pay your taxes or that house you thought wasn't yours. Again, you're right in some instances, but if you don't pay your rent, you're evicted. Again, you got to have a certain income and you got to want to live in the same place for several years. And even if you want to do that, you don't have to buy a house. So to each their own on that journey. I understand both perspectives. You pay your taxes because your taxes pay for the community, the school systems, the firehouses, in some instances, the hospitals, the surrounding environment. I know a property right now I'm looking at that they have property taxes less than $1,000 a month, but it's in the middle of nowhere. You have no infrastructure. You may have water problems. You may not have close hospitals. So you can pay low taxes, but there's a reason you pay low taxes. Everything has a price. And you need that. Why? Well, guys, it's like if everything was just there and no one needed to do anything, no one would do anything. You got to have some reward system. You can't reward someone for sleeping all day the same way you reward someone for changing the brakes on 5 different cars. The person that works 8 hours and changes the brakes on 5 different cars should be able to be in a nicer house with higher property taxes than someone who sleeps all day. If not, there's no car repairs. If not, there's no nurses. If not, there's no food establishments. If not, there's no internet. You know, I've been part of things that, you know, How do you think you get the internet? It's people running fiber optic cables in places you would never want to be sometimes. It's people working all night, day. How do you think you get electricity? I worked in substations where you could die if you flipped the wrong switch. How do you think you get electricity? How do you think you get air cooling? How do you think you get a better quality infrastructure? People who have to work. So there's a tax that has to be, it's just the way it is. Junkyard Dog. Just checking in. Thank you. Hope you had a good day. It was in some ways a disaster, but I'm reserved when I say that because I have it better than most other people, but I'm still human. Thank you. Aaron, great to see you. Love to you. Bob, I don't live in a vehicle, but I kind of want to try it someday. Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, definitely give it a shot. Definitely have an exit strategy. If you're elderly or disabled, you take a higher risk. But everything in life is risk reward. If you're single with no pets, no kids, you can take a higher risk. Everything's different. Cartoon Mark, what's up, brother? Heart, muscle, fire, shark. You had a shark attack, and I'm not sure what that is. But Mark, thank you, brother. Love to you. Love to Aaron. Thank you, Mark. Keep doing your thing. The world wants to see your art, but mainly they want to see your live feed. But I understand that when you have a family, you have to keep certain things private. If I had a family, I would probably not be sharing my life every night online. One is I wouldn't have the time. Two is when you have a family, I don't think you can share as much as me online. You could share, but it probably wouldn't be as much as me. Even me now, guys, like sometimes I cringe how much I share. And I mean, I can't share everything. I try to share as much as I can. And even now, like every day I say, Sam, is this fucking worth it? And it's tough, man. I'm thankful. $13 super chat all the way from Canada. That is Thunderbird. $13 super chat. Thank you, Thunderbird. He says, I need another entanglement like a psychopath needs another. I pooped today shirt. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they got an I pooped today shirt. Well, I want to say this. Let me read your comment and I'll talk about that. He goes, I need to continue showing up to my main job. I get my side hustle launched and continue to mitigate risk. That's the key. Most businesses fail. Most investments fail. So have your main job. Don't risk too much. And keep a savings account. Keep your debt low. Love to you, Thunderbird. Now, sometimes when I'm too hard on relationships, sometimes when I'm too hard on girls that have a I poop today shirt, I want to acknowledge that they helped me sometimes when I was at a low point and I just wanted someone to talk to or someone to hang out with. In life, there's going to be drug addicts that help you. There's going to be good and bad people that help you. There's going to be drama queens that help you. There's going to be prostitutes that help you. The thing is, no matter who helps you, your parents or a prostitute, you can't owe them your soul, but you can't forget them. I mean, I don't forget what my father did, my mother did. I don't forget what my friends did. I had some great friends. I don't forget with a girl who had an I poop today shirt. I don't forget what she did. Now, I don't speak to some of them anymore because I got to keep my well-being to get through the day. But if you remember that, at least you won't become men going their own way. Why do I always say that? Why am I against that? Because I understand and I agree with some of the principles that men going their own way teach. But I cannot accept that they don't take accountability for they bought Bitcoin and then they complained when it went down. They got into a relationship and they complained when it went sour. You take a risk. Also, even though a lot of my trolls have been women that wanted to get with me. Also, there's been a couple of nasty ones. Let's stay positive. All I want to say is this. My life is better, though, because of women, starting with my mom, even though she's not perfect, because of women I've worked with. And I remember working in construction. I worked with a woman electrician in the 90s in Jersey and New York, where a woman on the construction site was very rare. And she had to take a lot of shit sometimes. But she was better to work with sometimes than many other men. Many relationships that I had, intimately and just friends, I'm blessed to know women. It's a man's world. It wouldn't be nothing without a woman. I'm not saying put a woman on a pedestal. Don't, because some of them are trolls. Don't put a man on a pedestal. I'm just saying get rid of the men going their own way. If you want to be single, just say, I want to be single, period. I want you to learn in life how to put a period without explanation. I still struggle with that. I ask God to help me. In life, if you've decided for whatever reason, you got burnt or you just don't do well in relationships, I don't want you to join men going their own way. I just want you to say, for me, I'm in a healthier, more positive place when I remain single, and that's how I shall remain, period. If you can't do that, I fear that you're being misled. And I fear if you can be misled by that emotion, what else will you be misled by? I don't want you to follow me blindly. I want you to build yourself up. Not just, if anything else, you can get through the day without as many bitter roots as you can. Sometimes when I want to curse everyone, I think about people, including women, including men, including drug addicts, including productive people. I think about people who helped me when I needed help, when I was at a low point. I'm not going to be friends with some of the people anymore, but it still allows me to get through the day with a better perspective. Some great people that I totally disagree with politically, big Trumpers, they helped me tremendously. Never forget that. Why do I say that? If not, you're going to be watching a political thing, and you're going to, you can still, I still have my political thoughts, but once in a while I have to check myself and say, Sam, don't forget this. Back to live comments. Thank you, Thunderbird. Thunderbird also said, I have empathy for people in poverty, but I need to accept that you can't feel badly enough to help certain people, especially if they have toxic mindset. True. He goes, had to cut off a girl who was previously a very good friend because she wanted me to feel guilty about having more savings than her and not being willing to give her a huge interest on loans. Yeah, whether that was a man or a woman, it's just an unhealthy relationship. Learn in life to say, man, woman, or transgender, this relationship is healthy or unhealthy, and then put a period. Have a unisex mindset towards relationships. Don't say because of this man or because of this woman. Just say this relationship is either healthy or unhealthy, period. That's it. It'll make things a lot more clearer to you. Because whether you have testicles or whether you have a clitoris, the main thing is this relationship healthy or unhealthy, period. Never forget it. Back to live comments. I believe I left off at Twister. I used to have so much anxiety in the very beginning of starting at Starbucks. Not only all the new job pressure, but everyone was extremely extroverted. And I was very introverted. I kept showing up. Good comment. Any new job, the first 6 to 8 months are going to be tough. But after that, you're going to be glad you took the new job. And you're going to build a mind of adapting and overcoming. If you don't, now, if you have a new job every 6 months, you have a pattern of unhealthy behavior. If you have a new job maybe once every 5 years or once every 15 years, then you're progressing. You can stay with the same company, it doesn't matter. But all I can tell you is this. Don't allow that fear to overcome you. Why? Because productivity is the pathway to prosperity. I don't care what you do, if you work at Starbucks or if you work at a hospital or if you work at a construction site. If you don't show up, there's no way you're going to progress. Now, if you quit or if you don't show up one day, we all have been immature. I never quit, but there's been times when I was younger, there's times I didn't show up. I mean, not a lot, but there's been times. So you just get back on the horse. And I will say this, and then we'll go to the next live comment. In Starbucks, they teach you to say, I believe that, because I hear it was like a common slogan. They say, oh, absolutely. Yeah, you would like that? Absolutely. Something like that. There's some common phrases that they use, they must be taught to give a positive confirmation of, we'll do what you want. Of course, they're taught to greet people. I want to tell you this. Never fall in love with a bartender at a strip club. Why? She's taught to be very social and greeting of the customers. Never fall in love with a stewardess, an airline stewardess. Why? She's taught to be very accommodating. I've dated both. Never date a barista. Why? They're taught to be very accommodating. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't date them. I'm giving a little bit of a funny example that if you do date someone in customer service, you have to remember that when they're not on the job, they're not going to give you the same customer service. So if you date a bartender at a strip club, you're not going to go home and for years on end, she's not going to be the same person she was as a bartender in a strip club. If you date a barista, they're not going to make you coffee and get you triple filter ice water and clean up your table every day for 20 years. They're not on their job. They got to go home. That's why I tell you, a therapist would never take their patient home. Why? You got to have boundaries. How could you take a patient home, give them therapy, and then have your own time? You can never do it. You have to remember when someone's on their job, they're on it. When they're off, they're off. Back live comments. Tony, I love the sound of rain. Well, it ended now. That's the one thing I like about Florida. It'll rain, but it'll stop. And I rather it a wet environment than a dry. Never forget it. Twista. And now I'm at the point where I really like working. The good news is after you work somewhere for a few months or a year, you get confidence. Same thing with construction. I hated construction. But as I did it, I became a little bit better. And even pipe work. I never liked pipe work, but if I was on the same job for 8 months doing pipe work, I got a little better. So, and the better you get, the less pressure there is. Why? It's easier. He goes, I get along with everyone so well, and I've earned all their respect. Lord knows the pressure was so high at the beginning. I'm happy I came. You did it, Twister. Good job. Twister, this far. Good job. Cody. Hey, what's up, Cody? Therese. And Tony. Along with the ocean, rain can be really relaxing. Yeah, well, it is, but when you're sitting in a car and then you got to go take a shower and then you got to go back to the campsite or stealth park, and my day's not over. It's just beginning. I did this to myself, though, and I'm happy I did, but I ask myself now, Sam, what's your exit here? Are you going to burn yourself out? I think about it. Pay Denon. Salute, Uncle Sammy. Salute to you, reciprocal, Pay Denon. Thank you. Twista, my manager asked me if I would be interested in a promotion if given the option after graduation. Good things are coming. That's right. If you show up, you'll automatically move up. Why? There's a lot of people that are not going to show up. If you have a good attitude, you're going to get a promotion. If you work hard, you'll be the coffee master. You have a black apron. All I had to do is show up. Well, that'll get you in the door and up ahead. Easier said, than done on the hard days. I agree with that. Randy, how do you deal with being how did I deal with being an electrician and how long? You're right. The people are rough. I'm not used to some guy yelling in my ear, I'm a dumbass all day. I've gotten that. I mean, not all day, but you get it. Well, when I started, probably when I was 18, and I left working with my hands when I was 29. Then I got into more of a maintenance engineering job for 7 years, and I did side work. I have my own residential contracting on the side for about 7-10 years. So I would say 15 to 17 years strong with my hands. The first 10 years, heavy construction, industrial, commercial plants, and side work residential. How did I do it? I was working at the mall making $6 and something an hour. And I had the option to go to like DeVry computer school, which I wasn't sure how that would plan out, or going to an apprenticeship, go to school for 5 years at night, but work during the day and get paid starting at $13 an hour and then move up. So the money made me do it. The independence that money brings made me stay with it. And I've always had that strength that I wanted to make money to be independent. But it's a lot of pain, but that's what drives me. Veronica. Hey, buddy. Hey, Veronica. Good to see you. Peyton Nolan. What annoys me is when a family member or loved one is putting your business out to the rest of the family. And it's information that nobody has the right to disturb but myself. Well, Peyton Nolan, that kind of goes back to the question from Randy. When you don't live on your own and when you can't afford to, you got to live with other people. And when you live with other people, your business is their business. It's not right, but I experience it and I empathize with you and I understand. You feel violated. I understand. I do. Hal, what's up, brother? Speeding up and down I-95. I want to tell you guys, I mean, I enjoyed every season of my life. When I was in my teens and 20s, I mean, I worked hard, but I partied hard. And we had a lot of fun, guys, all up and down I-95. Like I say, guys, New Jersey, New York, D.C., Virginia, we have fun. Okay, it was good times. Peyton Nolan. Yeah, I'm utilizing your advice and cutting off the excess BS. It's not easy. I understand. Steph. Steph says, hey, Sam, I hope I didn't miss too much. Laughing. How you been mental, he goes, how you been mental care for you to and everyone in prayers. Thank you. Yeah, look, taking care of yourself mentally without doing drugs or without pills, and some people need pills or whatever, so I'm not against it. Most of my stress, though, is self-induced. Okay. Too much risk at times with money, and I don't want to bite the bullet to commit to something financially. So I stay in this algorithm of nomad. So I like the nomad life, but I'm honest with myself. I try not. There's going to be more self-harm if you lie to yourself. I'm not going to say everything is hard on me. No. Most of your stress is going to come from self-induced. You can say, oh, well, it wasn't fair. There's a lot of things that happened that are not fair, but even that could go down an algorithm where you don't go forward. So I just say, yeah, what can I do? What can I do? And I just try to focus on what I can do. It's not easy, but when I have a very bad day, I just get through the day. Love to you, Steph. Stacy, what's up? Good to see you, Stacy. Thank you for the emojis. If you haven't already, guys and girls, please click that thumbs up. It's free. Thank you again, Thunderbird, for the super chat. Thank you to all my members. I truly appreciate you. Twista, purple fire members only emoji. Thank you, Twista. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you to all my members. Aaron, also a member, aka Crazy Ink. She goes, work on yourself. Don't try to figure out your kid. A parent, it's one of the hardest jobs. There's no doubt. Pray for the parents. For all my parents, remember when you were a child. Let go as much as you can and work on yourself. You get it. Margie, good to see you, Margie. Aaron, divorce rates over 60% now. Well, and that makes sense. Why? Because in a modern era, you don't financially need someone else to live a life. Generations ago, divorces were lower because the options were not there. Remember, guys, before the 1970s, women did not have equal opportunity in the workforce. So how could a woman get divorced if she couldn't work? Okay. Yeah. And so, a lot of people stayed together because there was no other way. So you say, well, why should get married now then? You don't have to get married. You choose. You don't have to buy Bitcoin. You choose. You don't have to have children. You can choose to get a vasectomy. You choose. Most stress is self-induced. You choose. Valen, hey, Valen, mi amor. I want to tell you, burn up the internet. Love to you. Doing a great job, Valen. Keep doing your thing. Twista, Sam, being sober is such a blessing. It's like your natural gets sharper, stronger, wiser. Just dealing with life raw. You figure out who you truly are, what you want, what you shall deal with. Look, being sober, you're still going to suffer. But in my experience, you're going to suffer less. Why? Because even if you're a drunk, you still got to pay bills. Okay. Even if you have just a couple, even if you're not a drunk, you just have a couple drinks per night. That takes away from a couple walks. And when you drink, I don't know, everyone's different, man, to me. But in my experience in life, after a couple drinks, it doesn't get better, it gets worse. When you're young, you should enjoy life a little without destroying your life. I did. But if you're not careful when you get older, I think you'll suffer more than you need to. Now, am I saying that everyone should live like me? No, I think there are people that should live a different way than me. I'm just telling you what I do to get through my day. Compost. Hey, Compost. Thunderbird, thank you again. I appreciate that. I read all those comments. I thank you, Thunderbird. Shout out to Canada. Steph, living in a sunfire, done till April, October, and was working night shift after coming back to my own town, was handling parcel and sleep in day, shower, truck stop. Yeah, you got to adapt. You got to have a lot of movement. That's that nomad life. Steph, thanks, Sam. You reminded me to update my profile of myself. Okay, thank you. Daisy, hey, Sam. Hey, Daisy. AR6. What would you consider a direct deposit that's not financial? I don't understand the question. What would I consider a direct deposit that's not financial? What do you mean by that? What do I consider value that's not financial? Exercise. Every time you go for a walk, it's a direct deposit into your well-being. What would I consider a direct deposit that's not financial? Every time you separate from an unhealthy relationship, you direct deposit into your ability to develop yourself. What would I consider a direct deposit that's not financial? Every time you're willing to evolve and go from a gamer to an office worker, every time you're willing to go from a retail worker to a construction worker, every time you're willing to evolve, that's a direct deposit into your development. Every time you're unwilling to do that is a withdrawal from your potential. Hopefully that helps. All right, guys and girls, I've been on here for an hour and 12 minutes. I hope my words help you. I thank you to all my members. Thank you. Thank you for the gracious super chat. If you haven't already, click the thumbs up, share the video, leave a comment below. Charles, I love you. He goes, I heard Hulk Hogan divorced his second wife. You know, Hulk Hogan, a famous wrestler, had a slogan that you should take your vitamins and say your prayers. That was his gimmick as a wrestler, and it was very wholesome. I watched it. As I got older and I saw the reality was that he was a steroid head and a coke head, and he had adulterous threesome affairs with his wife. And his son became an alcoholic. He got in a very bad accident and destroyed someone's physical health in the accident. I don't say that in judgment. I say, here was someone living the most reckless life, and his slogan was, take your vitamins and say your prayers. Does that devalue his slogan? No. I think the Cosby Show was a great show, taught me a lot of lessons. But I think Bill Cosby himself as a person was a hypocrite, but that doesn't take away from the Cosby Show. So I think Hulk Hogan's character was a value character. In his personal life, everyone's got their personal things. But it's good that we see both so that we understand both. Steph, Sam, forgive me for not joining and push the button. No, if you ain't got it, don't do it. I'm in the process of moving out. There's no manipulation here. There's no guilt trip because I'm trying to do the best I can to earn it. But there's no guilt. Everyone do what they got to do for them. Yep, you're in a bad relationship, and my mom death. Yeah, I understand. You're going through some things. You need to take care of yourself. I understand that. No need to justify yourself to me. Uh, I understand life, guys. Okay, I'm a regular guy who broadcasts every night, and even though in many ways I've lived in some ways, an extraordinary life. In some ways, I lived a very ordinary life. In some ways, so I understand. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next video.